What if I told you discipline isn't supposed to feel hard? Most people spend their entire lives fighting against themselves, forcing themselves to do things they don't want to do, using pure willpower until they eventually burn out. But what if that entire approach is wrong? What if discipline could actually feel easy, not through some productivity hack or morning routine, but through a fundamental shift in how you think about discipline itself? Today, I'll share the mental shift that transformed my relationship with discipline. Once I understood this, everything changed. Tasks that used to feel like a struggle suddenly felt natural. Habits that I could never stick to became automatic. And the constant battle in my head finally went quiet. This isn't about forcing yourself to do things. It's about changing how you see things, so you no longer need to force yourself. Let me show you how this mental shift works. The real problem isn't your lack of discipline. It's that you've been taught discipline is about force. This can be called the willpower trap. The willpower trap is the belief that discipline means making yourself do things you don't want to do. It means constantly fighting against your own desires. And when you're caught in this trap, discipline will always feel exhausting. The willpower trap manifests in every area of your life. When you try to eat healthy, it feels like deprivation. When you try to work out, it feels like punishment. When you try to be productive, it feels like torture. And the worst part, the willpower trap is unsustainable. Research shows willpower is a finite resource. It's like a muscle that gets tired with use. That's why motivation comes and goes. That's why your discipline seems to disappear under stress. Before I show you how the willpower trap plays out in real life, if you are finding value in this video, a quick tap of the subscribe button will help more than you know. Now imagine a student trying to study for an exam. In the willpower trap, they are thinking, I hate studying, but I have to force myself to do it. I'll reward myself after this torture is over. I just need more discipline to make myself study. They sit at their tables constantly checking the time, fighting the urge to check their phones, and counting down until they can stop. This approach might work short term, but it's exhausting and unsustainable. The first part of breaking free from the willpower trap is understanding that real discipline isn't about force. It's about alignment. When your immediate desires align with your deeper values, discipline feels effortless. This shift occurs when you stop seeing discipline as something you do to yourself and start seeing it as something you do for yourself. Let me give you an example from my own life. When I started working out consistently, I approached it completely wrong. I'll drag myself to the gym, force myself to do workouts I hated, and constantly think about when it will end. It was pure willpower, pure force, and inevitably I'll quit after a few weeks. Then something shifted in my perspective. Instead of seeing working out as something I had to force myself to do, I started connecting it to my deeper values. I value having energy throughout the day. I value feeling confident in my body. I value being strong enough to handle whatever life throws at me. Once I made this connection, going to the gym wasn't something I did to myself. It was something I did for myself. I stopped focusing on the discomfort of the workout and started focusing on how it served my deeper values. And something amazing happened. The resistance began to fade. Some days I even looked forward to working out, which I never thought was possible. The action didn't change, my perspective did. But alignment alone isn't enough. The second crucial shift is integrating discipline into your identity. Most people say, I'm trying to be disciplined, but that language itself creates separation. It's still you versus discipline. The real shift happens when you start saying, I am disciplined. When discipline becomes who you are, not just what you do. This is similar to how professional athletes approach their sports. Take someone like Kobe Bryant. Kobe didn't try to be great at basketball. He didn't try to put in the work. His famous Mamba mentality wasn't something he did. It was someone he was. When teammates would be sleeping, Kobe would already be in the gym by 4 a.m. When asked about his intensive practice schedule, he didn't say, I'm trying to work hard. He said, this is who I am. There is a story of Kobe being found in the gym, drenched in sweat hours before an Olympic practice. He wasn't shooting to get better. He wasn't shooting because he had to. He was shooting because that's what Kobe Bryant does. The discipline wasn't separate from his identity. It was in fact his identity. And that's the shift I want you to make. Stop trying to be disciplined. Be someone for whom discipline is part of who you are. This shift might seem small, but it's transformative. When you say, I'm disciplined instead of I'm trying to be disciplined. Your brain begins to align your actions to this identity. You start making choices not based on what you feel like doing, but on who you believe yourself to be. There's one more piece to making discipline feel easy. Once you've aligned with your deeper values and integrated discipline into your identity, you need to design your environment to reinforce this shift. Most people try to use willpower to overcome a tempting environment. But when your environment supports your disciplined identity, you don't need to rely on willpower at all. For example, when I decided I am a disciplined person, I completely redesigned my workspace. I removed distractions, created visual reminders of my goals, and set up systems that made disciplined choices the default. This isn't about forcing yourself to ignore temptations. It's about removing the need for that battle altogether. Your environment should reflect who you are, not challenge who you are trying to become. I see so many people make these 3 critical mistakes when they are trying to become more disciplined. Mistake number 1, they rely purely on motivation. Motivation is like a wave. It comes and goes. When you depend on feeling motivated, your discipline disappears when that feeling fades. Mistake number 2, they focus on actions without changing their identity. They try to force new behaviors without becoming the kind of person who naturally does those behaviors. Mistake number 3, they set up their environment for failure. They keep temptations within arm's reach and blame themselves for giving in. Avoiding these mistakes is crucial for making discipline feel easy. Let me show you how this mental shift transforms everyday scenarios. Before the shift, you wake up and immediately think, I should work out, but I don't want to. The internal battle begins. Part of you pushes to exercise. Another part resists, creating mental exhaustion before you even start. You either force yourself feeling miserable or give in feeling guilty, depleting your mental energy. After the shift, you wake up and think, as someone who values health, moving my body is part of who I am. There's no battle because there's alignment between your identity and the action. You might not feel excited about exercising, but it feels natural like brushing your teeth. You complete your workout with minimal mental resistance and have energy left for the rest of the day. The action is identical, but the experience is completely different. Now let me walk you through what this looks like in practice. Step 1 is to identify an area where discipline feels hard. Maybe it's studying, working out, or managing your time. Step 2 is to connect this area with your deeper values. Ask yourself, why does this actually matter to me? Not why it should matter, but why it does matter. Step 3 is to shift your language and self-image. Instead of I'm trying to be someone who works out regularly, it becomes I am someone who takes care of my body. And finally, step 4, align your environment with this new identity. Remove the friction from disciplined choices and add friction to the undisciplined ones. The beauty of this approach is that you're working with your brain instead of against it. Now, I want to be completely honest with you. This mental shift doesn't mean discipline will always feel easy. There will still be days when you don't feel like showing up. But the difference is that you no longer see those moments as failures. They are just temporary misalignments that you can correct. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds great in theory, but what about when I don't genuinely want to do something? That's a fair question. The truth is, there will always be aspects of discipline that don't perfectly align with immediate desires. But here's the key insight. When one's identity is solid and one's values are clear, those moments of resistance become much smaller obstacles. It's like the difference between pushing a boulder uphill and rolling it flat on the ground. There is still effort involved, but it's way easier. The more you practice discipline through this lens of alignment and identity, the more natural it becomes. And eventually you experience what I now experience. Discipline that feels less like a battle and more like a natural expression of who you are. Now that you understand the mental shift that makes discipline feel easy, you have the foundation to transform your relationship with discipline. But even with this shift, we all face tough days when alignment feels difficult and discipline becomes challenging. That's why I created a video specifically about staying disciplined on your worst days. Click here to watch that next. If you gain value from this video, hit that subscribe button if you want to be disciplined. Remember, the path is yours to walk, and as always, I'm in your corner rooting for you.